feel like my music selection is better than DH's. That's just me. Take away my eyes, take away my ears, take it all. What's going on, everybody? Patrick Ali here, Senior Loan Officer at Hall Financial. Here joined by Seth Gray, Senior Loan Officer. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again here.
Good. And we're here to deliver the best darn 12 minutes in podcast history in the universe, as our fearless leader David Hall says most of the time. And we are joined, actually, I'm pretty excited today. We're joined by Isaac Whitney.
How's everyone doing?
Good, of Community Insurance Center.
Yes,
so
sir.
You do everything from home, auto, life, health, business, work comp, basically, would I say broker in the insurance world?
Yep, that are independent agencies, so we
Okay.
do everything.
That's awesome. Well, welcome on. Excited to have you on here.
Glad to be here again.
Haven't heard anything but good news about you and good things from the people that use you. I know that one of our processors really highly recommends you, sent you a lot of stuff, and we do well with you. So I appreciate you coming on and joining us.
Paying the right people.
Yeah. Well, I know you're bringing bagels.
Yeah,
that's
right.
for sure. So that definitely helps.
And good bagels.
You're right.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I just wanted to obviously get that introduction out first. We have a lot to talk about today, and we're really excited. So just kind of hopping into it. Tell us, how you got started in insurance. How's the insurance business going?
It's great. So it's been a while. It's been about 12 years ago when I moved here from Florida. I was looking for a career, and a person that I knew that I had a lot of respect for opened up an all-state agency, and I went on board with them, and we did a lot of big things, became #1 agency. It was an awesome experience, but I saw where I felt for me that it was better to be in the independent world. So actually another person that I knew invited me over to be a part of their agency, and it's been just an awesome thing. And doing everything from, like what you were saying, auto, home, commercial, we have something for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's what I like, and I feel like I'm a bit of a problem solver, where if somebody comes to me with an issue, I can figure out a solution for them.
Yeah, and that's cool, and I'm curious to know. I spent a little bit of time in insurance a long time ago. Didn't spend a ton of time in the industry, but I learned a couple of things along the way. But for the listeners out there, maybe even the real estate agents that we work with, when they're talking to their clients, what are some of the biggest factors that go into obtaining the right type of homeowners insurance or the right type of auto insurance? I know bundling is a big thing for a lot of people.
That's your
to help
biggest
save
discount right
Yeah.
there. Well, what you want to do is, one, make sure that your home is insured for the replacement cost.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference between the value or the purchase price versus the replacement cost. So certain areas you can buy a home for $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. If it's a 3,000 square foot home, that replacement cost is going to be so much greater than what you buy it for. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing to look out for. Plus, there's all these other packages and coverages that most people don't know about. And so that's where my job comes in, to educate and explain what those coverages are that are very important, aside from what we just think of with covering our home and our stuff inside.
Right. Do you find that most people that are pretty much novice when it comes to insurance, do they even really understand what a homeowner's insurance policy is?
Not really. I mean, they get it to an extent, but unless you work in the industry, just like with you guys with mortgages, I don't know every intricate detail. I've learned a lot from working with you guys, but still, you guys are the pros, and that's why when it comes to people calling me for insurance, I educate them, and I really dumb it down, because there's all these technical terms and coverages and meanings that if I were to explain half these things, you guys would just have these question marks over your head, where that's where I feel like I do a great job, is explaining it, and people get it. And if they don't, I have a really good way of explaining it better than I think what most people do.
Well, I think you make a good point, too, because even in our industry, there are a lot of things that I think the average person just going online and trying to figure out insurance for themselves, because there are things like Progressives and Geico and the General and stuff like that for your industry, and there's stuff like us, they have a lot of different takes on mortgages and making it a more simplified process that way. But I find a lot in our industry, and you can probably talk to this about yours as well, is that you still have to have a professional. You still have to have somebody there Because
100%.
talking about, 20, 40, coverage
Yes.
and broad form
The
and
magic number.
you know what I mean? It's all of these different things, or PLPD. I just feel like people don't understand sometimes, number one, what you're getting yourself into, but, they also don't know what the state requires. If the state requires you to have something specific, or mortgage company does, I mean, that really is when I think it gets super important.
Absolutely.
So another thing, too, is, for people out there that have insurance, whether it's, whole life, it's health insurance, auto insurance, homeowner, what are the ways or what are the techniques that you do to kind of help, because I've only heard good things of, like, hey, you got to go see Isaac. Isaac is, he gave this dude's paying like $10 a month, not literally, but dude's paying like $10 a month for his house. What are some things that you utilize, or your knowledge, knowledge, over your career that you've used to help bring those kind of things down, or make the payment less, make the homeowner's insurance or whatever it may be more appeasing to your client?
Well, one is definitely bundling. That's going to give you the biggest discount.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually around 30%.
Yeah.
Is what that discount is. But I work with a lot of companies, and so one company may not be competitive in a certain area versus where another company is, and there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many different companies be so different in so many different areas. But that's one thing. So I have many companies to work with. All great companies, but two, it's knowing the right discounts and knowing the right coverages to use. So one, you can raise your deductible a little bit, and that's going to help out on the overall price. And then, like I said, the bundling, the discounts, those are all things that I know to look out for.
Yeah,
and that's where my success is. And on top of that, is adding in really great coverage to it. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and Patrick, we were going to bring up a couple of other things as well, and I guess it's kind of a good segue with this in regards to location.
Yes.
Whether it's zip codes. I mean, how is it determined how do you determine what the rates are going to be?
Well, I don't determine them. The company files the rates with the state. So that's on the company side. But where you live at can make a difference. There's certain areas that, based on high crime, based on number of accidents and claims reported in that area, it can be higher. But I've seen where in certain areas, some of the companies, the rates have come back so great.
Yeah.
So and I get surprised by that a lot of times too, when I see that a rate can be so competitive in a certain area. But it's just that the company's hitting on all the right cylinders in that area.
Yeah. And I mean, are you using it as a way to gain either more clients or network more? Are you using a lot of social to your advantage? In the insurance world, because I don't know a whole lot about it. We don't know a whole lot about it. Is that an advantage to you to use social to your advantage, or
social media?
Yeah, like social media, whether Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be.
Well, I feel like I'm really good at keeping up with the social media and keeping up with the times, but there's a lot of the old school way where I'm very much with having a personal relationship with everyone. So I think that might be a little bit of my secret sauce there.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's just I'm a relationship person.
Right.
So I believe that my actions speak louder than words, because if I can show you guys what I can do and how good I am at my job and the customer service that I can provide, I think that speaks volumes. And that I feel will never go away.
Got it.
Even in the digital world, people will always need that relationship. And with an insurance agent, you want a good agent that's going to know the right coverages, because if you can go online, you can get a real cheap policy, but you're going to get cheap coverage with that. Where I can suggest things that maybe it's $10 more a month, but you're going to have so much better coverage than if we would have saved you $10 a month.
Yeah, that's good. Because I think we try to use that to our advantage a lot, and just adding a little bit more personal attention. I feel like I'm doing our commercial right now. Yeah, a little more personal attention to what we do, and it's at some points, it may be a little bit more money, or it may have, a little bit more that you have to do on your end as a client, but it's such a bigger impact at the end of the day, and it'll help you so much. So that's good. But that's a good point talking about location, because you mentioned that you were in Florida at one point, right?
I was.
So what are the biggest difference that you see, not just in zip codes in our state, but from state to state? I mean,
Florida is a different animal.
Yeah.
And I was not in insurance at the time when I was in Florida.
Yeah.
But I do know how insurance works down there. And so we have our homeowners policy, and you might have to get flood insurance if you're in a certain area. Down there, there's so many other types of policies, like wind policies.
Yeah.
And then policies that cover the homeowners for hurricanes. And there's certain requirements that your home has to be up to code on to get a better rate, like your shutters and roof and things like that. So it's a whole different animal down in Florida.
Yeah.
And more the risky states, where you have the bigger windstorms and hurricanes and earthquakes. Sinkhole coverage, that's another one.
No, we experienced that a couple of years.
Right.
Coverage.
But that's a big one down in Florida.
Yeah.
Sinkholes. So that's the big difference.
So depending on location, depending on the environment, I mean, it's hazard insurance at the end of the day. So
it is.
You're trying to protect against hazardous events, something that could destroy. I think it's a great point. I think it helps a lot, understanding and having a professional behind you at all times. But we're out of time. That's it. That's
Wow.
it. What I want you to do, though, I want you to give everybody your contact info. How can we get a hold of you if you want the best policy out there, if you want a professional, if you want somebody that's going to take care of you and possibly be your friend on Facebook? If you don't have many friends, he'll be your friend on Facebook,
there you go.
too. Yeah.
It's Community Insurance Center in Oxford, and the phone number is 248-628-2505.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thank
Glad
you
to
so
be
much
here.
as well. We appreciate it. Well, that was the best darn 12 minutes on podcast history in the world. I'm Patrick Ali. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.